What's good, y'all? It's A.N.T.E here. This is the first video of a series where I'll basically be kind of letting y'all in on the behind the scenes, giving y'all some insight on, just my inspiration, things that I think about, methods that I use when it comes to my creative process and music production. So I've had so many people ask me questions, about how you do this, or, what are you thinking about when you do this? What's your inspiration? What plugin are you using on this? So consider this my first video of me giving y'all some insight. Now, this is how I go about my creative process. This is not saying this is exactly how it's supposed to be done, because everybody's process is different. But hopefully you can get something out of it that you can use for yourself. So without further ado, my first video will be about drums. So I'm a big drum head. I'm a big drum fanatic. I'm a percussionist at heart. So drums is a very big and intentional part of my production. Sometimes I start drums, sometimes I don't. But today I'll kind of give y'all a little insight as far as how I put my drum loops together and how I get kind of that, cohesive mesh sounding drum, unit. When it comes to, the different elements that are part of it, whether it's the kick, the snare, hat, cymbals, percussion, all that good stuff. So let's get into it. All right, and we live. Okay, cool. So for this particular video, I decided to bring up a project that I started on recently. And this is basically a flip of a song that's been recently put out by a good friend of mine's, the very own Talib Safia, and she put it out as an album recently. Y'all go check it out. It's called Love Spells. So we're working on doing a project where we put out just like remixes and flips of some of those songs and some of other songs that she may have recorded even before then. So this is one song derived from 10 Toes Down that we performed live in the green room. Cool. So let's take a look at let me find all the drum elements and solo them so you can hear just drums, because that's what we want to focus on for this video. Alright, cool. It's a drum loop I got that I created for this particular track. So we got a high, we got a hat, open hat, kick. We got a snare and a kick loop that I made in another project. I just did it in a separate project and I imported it in here. But we got all the drums. So to start out, what I like to do is take every single drum element that I have, especially if I'm trying to get that cohesive, drum set kind of sounding unit. All of my drum sounds, everything needs to be routed to its own, channel on the mixer, of course. We got the kick on channel 15. I got a couple kicks layered. I got a kick in this loop that I made in another project, and I got a kick right here. So I solo it so you hear it. And there's a kick in this loop. Also, it's got a little bit longer release on it. That I layered them together. Got a hi-hat here. Got a snare. And what I like to do is take everything and side chain it and send it to one channel. Not side chain, but actually route everything to one channel, and that's my drum bus, so to speak. So this is my bus channel for drums. So that's step one when it comes to if I want that kind of sound where everything sounds like a solid unit is meshed together. Then one of the smartest things to do, I feel like, is to take every single element. And so I got everything routed to channel 3. That's my drum bus. You can kind of see that right there. So once I do that, when I first started, the mixer channel was completely empty. I didn't have anything. But I got a compressor here. So what I like to do, I start out with a little color. And what I mean by color, I use RC20 retro colors, a plug-in that's pretty much gives you options to add like noise, vinyl noise, distortion, some little digital effect, reverb, just different things like that. You can adjust the tone if you want to a little bit. You can EQ in here also. You can change the width, the stereo positioning. It's just a lot of things you can do with RC20. RC20 is a cheat code. I've had RC20 for probably over a year now, and I use it on just about almost everything. I never put it on the master channel, but I use it on a lot of different instruments, including and the presets in here are fire on their own. They're fire. But sometimes I just go in here and mess around with something that I already have. So I messed around with the distortion. I gave the drums a little bit of distortion to kind of give it a little bit of griminess, kind of give it a little bit of, kind of, I wanted it to sound a little dirty, but not dirty, if you get what I'm coming from. I added a little bit of digital effect to kind of give it a little bit of buzz to it. I didn't do too much with RC20. I did adjust the tone a little bit so you can kind of hear it. You can adjust the tone, make it a little darker, make it a little brighter. So I wanted a little brightness to it. Because of course you got, different elements like the hi-hat and the high end of the snare that gives a little bit of high. So I definitely want that to pop. So I gave it a little bit of tone. Because all of the drums that I chose for this one, as you can hear, they're a little bit drier sounding. Then once I do that, that's like one of the first things I add. Do a little bit of EQ. I got an EQ on this one that's kind of centered around 7,000 some hertz up in the highs, just because I think the reason I did that is because the snare may have sounded a little bit too in my face. It was just a little bit too dominant in that frequency. So I found whatever frequency it was. So it looks like it's about 7056. 7056. Take that, carve it in, give it a little bit, 7056. There we go. Okay, cool. So I put the EQ on there. I didn't do a whole lot, but I want y'all to see the object of what I'm doing here is just taking every single drum sound I have and route it to a drum bus. I got Ozone 9 elements on here, which is another great plugin to use on bus channels, on master channels. And I'm using the drum bus space preset, which kind of gives it a little bit of stereo widening, just a little bit. It's not much. And then, of course, I add a compressor at the end of the channel to compress everything down and have everything balanced along with everything else that's going along musically. So yeah, that's pretty much how I do my drums. If I want that kind of sound, I don't do that every single time I create drums and stuff when I'm making beats or making music. But yeah, and that's pretty much what I do and how I go about giving my drums a sense of cohesiveness.